What's up, folks? Welcome to my channel. Just wanted to pop in here really quick and ask you to please subscribe, like, comment. That's what feeds the algorithm monster and keeps this thing going. If you're interested in the audio versions of the podcast, of course, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We sell our t-shirts and stuff like that I wear during the show on justworkco.com. You can find me on all the social platforms pretty much at I am Dave Hurt, and you can follow the podcast Instagram at the Free Mind Podcast. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, first year was kind of the year of figuring out just all the ins and outs. Like I wanted to figure out exactly who is our customer base, who's our avatar, what products are working the best, what strategies for drops are working the best. I wanted to figure out the ins and outs of events. Like literally the first year was me just figuring stuff out because truth be told, dude, it's all brand new to me, right? I've never ever ran a freaking apparel company. Like that's just this, so anyway, it's been kind of like year one was kind of just like the learning experience, just figuring out all the ins and outs. And then year two is where we freaking take it to the moon. Yeah. So I feel like I know enough about it now to really like invest and dive in. Because the first year I didn't take out any debt. I didn't take on any kind of capital, anything like that. But year two is the year where we go hard. And so it's exciting, man. It's a lot of work, but it's exciting for sure. Seeing where, seeing kind of where the movement is going, seeing like, I say that every time because I think I want people to know it's more than just a clothing brand. Like it really is. As cliche as that sounds, and as much as everybody says that, it's the truth. And we have some really, really cool plans in 2022 as to how we can make sure that it's more of a movement than a clothing brand, and how we can really separate ourselves from all these other clothing brands in the same space or whatever. Yeah. We made a concerted effort this year to not be like, and not that this is a bad thing. There's a lot of companies out there that it's not a bad thing. Like it's just not the direction that I want to go with official Patriot gear, which is just kind of like trend chasing. You know what I mean? Like absolutely. Truth be told, dude, we had when that whole like FJB Let's Go Brandon thing came out, I'll be honest, man, that was probably one of the hardest decisions and probably the most that I've ever thought about a decision regarding this brand ever, because I have friends that legitimately are making like $2 million a month because of the FJB or Let's Go Brandon line that they launched. Yeah. And it's like, I have no doubt in my mind that we could have done exactly that, if not more, if we would have jumped on that bandwagon. But, and again, it's not that I don't disagree with everything that stands for, but it's just like, it's not where I want this brand to go. Yeah. It's not what I want the message to be. I want more unity than divide. And so I made a decision not to do anything as far as FJB Let's Go Brandon stuff goes. And like, as big of a hit as it probably was, I know that it's going to be better for us in the long run. And people will understand that, we're not just going to jump on every trend train. Yeah. Like, we're trying to create an apparel company and a brand and a movement that people can when they wear this clothing, they can honestly know that they're representing something that is good and that they stand for as well. Something that's bigger than them and us and everybody. Yeah. So anyway, man, that's just, I don't know why I went on that rant. But
no, I love it, man. I love it, especially right now because, just sort of organically, I say we, but I mean me, this whole thing is me. I just, dropped a couple of t-shirts just because I was getting tons of requests and, I'd made a couple for myself and, in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I'll make these. And if people are interested, I could make some because it also gets the word out about the podcast and everything. And it's been really cool to see the response there. But I was talking to my wife kind of about the same thing. And we were talking about, do we want to make this any bigger or just make some t-shirts for the podcast and that's it. And, I told her like, if we do almost exactly what you just said, man, like I don't want it to be just another one of these, like, look, you'll see things come out and it's like, you'll see one brand put put a message, and then you'll see like 3 or 4 other brands putting the exact same thing on a shirt. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's fine. Like you said, that's totally fine. But, you know, if I were to cultivate this into an actual brand, I would take that same approach. Like I want it to represent my perspective on things, which is a little less of the confrontational, you know, like, because you and I share that very similar belief, and we talked about it on the last podcast. But, you know, I do think though, I'd be interested in your opinion on this. Like with Joe Biden, for example, you know, you talk about, you want to be more about unity, so you don't want to necessarily say anything bad about him or do the FJB thing. But I almost look at it as unity of both sides against tyranny. And so in that case, like, I'm okay saying stuff about Biden because I see him as sort of the institutional elite that both sides of we the people should be coming together against, you know?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. That's why I said at the beginning, like, it's not that I disagree with the message.
Yeah.
Like, I 100% am on board with it. I think it's, you know, obviously, like, let's go, Brandon. But as far as like, I don't know. I just think as far as the overall, it's hard, man. It's like, because you know, you have the, oh, thank you. No, yeah, I'm on it right now. My wife bringing me some food.
Oh, gotta love it.
Love you. So you're gonna have to edit that out.
But no, it's fine.
Anyway,
that's what makes it real.
Over.
That's
so
what makes it
you
real.
asked me, okay, so do I agree with the message? Yes. Do I think that it's actually a uniting force right now? I don't think that it's not. Like, at the end of the day, I think our country has gotten to a point where the large majority are united in the fact that we know that our leadership is not steering the ship in the right direction.
Yeah,
I think that's
agree.
fair to say.
Yeah.
So again, do I disagree with the message? No, not at all. But it's more of a decision that I made just regarding the brand itself. Like, it's not so much about the message as it is about, I don't want people to get used to this idea that when things happen that we don't agree with, or not, I should say that we agree with. No, yeah. Things that we don't agree with, that we're automatically going to make a piece of clothing or an item of clothing that like represents that. It's like, that's not where I want this brand to go. I want this brand to just simply represent what it has represented since the beginning, which is the true sense of patriotism.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not about what side of the aisle is right and calling out who, and like, you know, we don't have any clothing that says anti-media or whatever, even though I am very anti-media, even though I know that the media is probably the biggest issue in our country. It's just, again, it's not so much that I don't disagree with those things or that I don't agree with those things, excuse me. It's just, I don't want that to be our brand. I don't want our brand to be a trendy, like, throw a statement on a t-shirt kind of thing.
Yeah.
I want it to just simply be, you know, this idea that when people wear it, they know that they're representing a non-partisan, non-exclusive, true sense of patriotism, regardless of where you stand on the political scale, regardless of what color you are, regardless of what religion you are. Just simply, if you're an American and you believe in the values that we do, which is you love this country, you want it to be free, you want it to thrive, you love the people here, and you're willing to defend that freedom and make sure that you do everything in your power to allow this country to thrive. And that means doing your part, right? That means if you're an entrepreneur, you should be going out and getting yours every single day. And you should be showing people what's possible.
Yeah.
And you should be helping everybody else that wants to. You should be lifting them up in every single way so that we can continue to thrive as a nation. If you believe all of those things, then that in my mind is a patriot. That in my mind is a true patriot of this country. And I think we've gotten away from that, right? We've gotten away from this idea that it's not a partisan issue or that it's not an exclusive thing. And it's like, now all of a sudden you have to be one type of person, or you have to believe in one ideology, or you have to have one religion, or you have to believe, you know, and it's just like, you can disagree. We've said this a million times. I feel like a broken record, but it's the truth. Like, you can disagree with the people all you want, but if you are both standing in the same place as far as your actions and your thoughts and your love for this country, then that's it. That's all that matters. Like, disagree with them all you want, but you have to respect it.
Yeah.
Right. If they're
absolutely.
not harming anybody, and if they're not doing anything to cause damage, and the opposite of everything I just talked about as far as freedom and the country thriving, then you're on the same side. And we have to get back to this idea that, okay, I don't agree with you, but you know what? We're both fighting this same fight. We're in this together. This country is, the flag is red, white, and blue for a reason, right? We need to get back to red, white, and blue.
Yeah, I agree, man. And we share that sentiment fully. And the oh man, I just totally lost my thought.
Oh, yeah, no, it's okay. I just realized like I didn't really necessarily answer the question you asked too. Like you said, you know, do you believe that it's still okay for like the Let's Go Brandon FJB thing? It's like, dude, I mean, again, I agree with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
Well, it makes sense for you though. Also, if you're building, yeah, but you want your brand to last, right? And like this is kind of a temporary thing. So like if you want your brand to be around 6 years from now, I mean, Let's Go Brandon is going to be a distant memory, right? But if you continue, because I see like for you, like I wear your stuff a lot, and thank you by the way for sending me stuff. Welcome. Like I wear it proud. More than once, I mean several times, people will just see me wearing something that says Patriot, and you know, they'll say something to me about Trump. You know, they assume I'm a Trump supporter or I'm a conservative or what have you. And we've gotten to a point, like you're saying, where it's become synonymous with one side to be a patriot, right? And it's like we have to figure. I don't know the best way, but somehow we have to figure out a way for like, okay, left, right, that's fine, but we have to agree that we're all patriots, that we care about this country. Right. And that's a challenge, man.
It's education, right? Like, so again, I'll go back to it. It's like, is putting FJB or Let's Go Brandon on a t-shirt moving the needle in that sense?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. Again, not that I don't disagree. Right. I can say this all day long. I think we are in a terrible spot. I think our leader is an absolute freaking joke. I've said it from the very beginning. It is not a Trump issue. It's not a Biden issue. It's an American issue.
Yeah.
We have an absolute puss for a president right now, someone who doesn't have any kind of like, dude, the things that are happening right now in Russia and Ukraine, it's that insane. Never would have happened under a Trump administration. No. Never. And the fact is that we are weak. We are extremely weak. Our economy is weak. Our leadership is weak. We appear weak, and our enemies are literally beating us. And I say this all the time, but like people that are like, oh, World War III is coming. It's like, no, you don't get it, man. When World War III hits, and trust me, it will, when it actually hits, the history books are going to tell that it started back in 2015, 2016. It started with information, and they are beating us without firing a single shot. And it's because of greed and lack of accountability and just pure evil, in my opinion, pure evil that is trying to take over what this country truly stands for and what this world stands for. And you can call it a conspiracy theory all you want. I don't freaking care. But if you don't believe that there are people in this world, there are individuals that only care about money, power, and control, and that is their only objective, and that they are doing everything they possibly can to obtain those things because their hearts are truly taken over by an evil presence, then you don't get it. Then you don't understand how the world works. You don't understand history
or people.
Like, it's happened since the dawn of time. There has been evil, and evil will always exist. But that's my message, man. It's like, how do we bridge the gap? Well, you know, I don't know if we talked about this on our last episode, but I believe that when you talk about good and evil, right, you don't negotiate with evil. And you don't try to bridge a gap with evil. Like, evil is evil. Nothing is going to change that. Evil is just pure evil, in my opinion. Like, their hearts and their minds and their souls are already taken over by something that it has complete control over those people. You can't negotiate with that. But in the good, right? In that group of good, there are people from all walks of life. There are people that have all different ideas, ideologies, and ways of you know, navigating this world. And that's what makes this world so amazing. That's what makes this life and this what we are doing on this freaking rock so amazing. Like, the ability to have differences, the ability to think differently, the ability to look at things in a different way, the ability to not always agree. Like, imagine if the world agreed on everything. It would be robotic.
Yeah, it'd be
right?
boring.
Yeah. And so again, in that good, you have people that think and believe and walk completely different walks of life, right? They're all different religions, all different races, all different sexes, all different everything.
Mm-hmm.
But what I believe is that within that good, there's two types of people really. And there's those that are aware of the evil and who it is and what's going on and what's really at stake. And there are those that are just completely unaware, whether they refuse to be aware of it, whether they are completely just ignorant to it and just, or whether they're just completely apathetic. And what I've realized, okay, since I started speaking up on my social media and since I really started like being kind of a voice in this fight, which I do consider myself a voice in this fight, I have realized that I have been able to bridge that gap. I have been able to have people that were completely unaware of what was going on, that I don't agree with what they believe. There are things that, like, if we were to sit down and have a political conversation, we would agree on exactly dick. Mm-hmm. Nothing. Zero. Yeah. Okay. Just because of the way that we are, just because of where we come from, our backgrounds, the lenses that we see the world through, right? But there is one thing that we can agree on, and that is that we don't want to be overtaken by evil. We don't want to be ruled. We want to be free. We want to be able to build and create and do what we were meant to do in this life. And when we come to that realization and those people understand and truly become aware of what's going on with the media, with politicians, with freaking big pharma, with all these massive corporations and what they're doing to honestly put this world in a state of bondage, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, Ian, yeah, you know what? I hate the fact that you love guns. And you probably hate the fact that I believe that someone can be a freaking he, she, they unicorn if they want to. But the truth is, you respect me and I respect you. And we both have the same enemy. And that enemy is just evil. And so, man, let's figure out a way to make this work. Let's figure out a way to have the conversations that we need to have and to not get too emotional or too logical. Let's figure out a way to stay in the middle. And let's figure out a way to get more people to understand this, because if we can, and as fairy tale as this sounds, if we can actually make more people that we don't agree with aware of what's really going on, all of a sudden the side doesn't matter. All of a sudden the line disappears. I talk about this all the time, but you look at 9/12. Okay, I'm from New York. I experienced it. I was there. I lived through it. And I will tell you right now, not just in the state of New York, but everywhere across the world, 9/12. Let's just talk about the country, especially since that's what we're focused on. Especially in this country, on 9/12, nothing mattered.
Yeah.
Gendered bathrooms, religions, freaking sexes, whether you were an atheist or a Christian, whether you freaking, like, it didn't matter. Color, race, none of it mattered. The only thing that mattered that day was that you were an American.
Yep.
You saw American lives taken and a tragedy beyond comprehension that just completely took all of us by surprise. And all that mattered was that we were there for each other. All that mattered was that our country was under attack. Our people were under attack. And now we had a common enemy. And not only was it time to come to the rescue for each other emotionally, physically, mentally, but it was also time to stand up and say, no, this isn't happening. Now, the reasons for all that happening, we can dive into that another time if you want. But the truth is, it didn't matter because it created a common enemy and it created what I believe is the true sense of patriotism.
Let me ask you this.
But here's the thing, Dave. Oh, sorry.
Just really quick along those lines, I wanted to get this out and get your thoughts on it. Because we do have, as you mentioned already, we do have more and more people sort of waking up to just how bad this administration is, right? More and more people who are, whether they're on the left or right.
You can't call it an administration, though. You got to call it a regime.
Fair enough. This regime, fair enough. I agree. So do you think that when you look at this at the macro scale, how terrible Joe Biden has been this past year, do you think that ultimately, in this weird way, it will result in unification, in us coming together against a common enemy because this regime is so bad?
Absolutely. But I will say this. My only fear, and I've talked about this from the beginning, my fear in that is that it will be too late. My fear is that the unity will not come in time. And to be honest with you, that's why I, along with so many other people that I'm, dude, you have Andy Frisella, you have Ian Smith, you have all these people that are fighting for freedom and that truly are not, they're not partisan, man. Like if you talk to them, they don't consider themselves conservatives or Democrats or Republicans or liberal. Like it's just, that's not what they just consider themselves American constitutionalists, really. Yeah,
same.
It's all just about freedom. Like at the end of the day, all that matters is freedom. Freedom for you, freedom for me, freedom for everyone to do what they want, be who they want, act the way they want, and honestly just live their lives the way that they want to as an American or as a human being in general. And just the idea of fighting for that freedom, right? But my fear, as much as I do believe that this regime has shown its true colors by now, and I think people definitely are starting to wake up on both sides of the aisle, and really I believe that this country is more unified now than it's ever been. You won't see that on the media. They won't talk about that. But the truth is, if you go around and you ask people what they think about what's going on right now, dude, everyone can agree that this is probably, arguably, the worst administration in the history of America. I think that's a fair assumption. And but what I fear is that even though so many people know what's going on, the actions will not be in time.
Yeah.
It'll be too late by the time that enough people decide to stand up and actually act. And here's the thing, man, this is what I was going to say before. I talked about what we saw on 9/12, what we saw as a country. Well, guess what, man? Our enemies saw the exact same thing. I promise you, our enemies were watching as America became strong and as that true sense of patriotism actually united us. There's a reason they say united we stand, divided we fall. Our enemies know that too. Why don't we? Why don't we get that? Why can we as Americans not understand that the more we divide ourselves and the more that we fight over absolutely meaningless, pointless issues, that we are literally just weakening ourselves and making ourselves ripe for the harvest for our enemies. That's the truth. And they saw that. And I promise you, they have been exploiting it ever since.
Yeah.
And that's why I started speaking up in the first place, man. Like, this is stuff that I've known my entire life, basically. Well, I'd say since 9/11. 9/11 was really when I started to actually put some interest in looking into things. And it's like, dude, when the BLM and the Blue Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter riots were going on, I'm not talking about in 2019. I'm talking about back in 2016.
Yeah, 16, Ferguson, all that.
The fact is, dude, those riots were incited, and people are going to call me crazy all day long, and I really don't care. I literally have talked to I have buddies that are in military intelligence. Their whole job was basically to combat Russian and Chinese disinformation tactics, right? And they have straight up said those riots, those physical meetups, they were instigated by Russian and Chinese bot farms.
Oh yeah.
They literally infiltrated Facebook and these other platforms, and they got our people to fight online over and over and over, and then they got them to meet up physically. Okay, think about the power in that, right? And so when you look at what they know they had the ability to do, and then you fast forward to 2019 when all this stuff started happening again, which is when I actually started to speak up regardless of the repercussions, my career, my whatever, it didn't matter. Dude, that's what's going on, man. Our enemies are exploiting our weakness, and our weakness is 100% that we don't understand the very fundamental principle of this country, which is united we stand, divided we fall.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And the troll thing is It's very real. Like I think I heard this on Rogan, but he was talking about a study where they found that 19 of the top 20
Yes.
Facebook groups, like Christian Facebook groups, were actually by troll farms, and they were instigating conflicts. 19 out of 20, dude. So it's like, and I tell my friends this all the time, you know, the guys kind of in this space, like nebulous space of, you know, pro freedom, you know, people who have a little bit of influence. I'm like, you got to really keep at the front of your mind that a lot of these accounts that are instigating stuff and commenting, it's very likely that they're trolls, that they're Russian or Chinese trolls trying to create conflict in this. And it's like,
that's right.
It's very real, man.
Dude, with our Facebook ads, I'll tell you this right now. So we run Facebook ads to the targeted groups that we have, right? Like with the groups that we know are our target customers or whatever.
Yeah, I see them a lot.
And dude, we get negative comments about January 6th and Trumpers and white supremacists and nationalists and all kinds of stuff. Like we get it all the time. And I'm telling you right now, 100 times out of 100 times, 10 times out of 10, every time I go to the profile, it's a picture of a cat or a dog, or it's like this like super blurry picture of some random person, and then there's like 3 photos on their entire profile, but their info is all about like Christian conservative, but like not with Trump, or it's like super liberal, right? It's like all the things that a liberal would say, and they are very calculated, because, and the way you can tell is, and I've made this mistake, I've responded to them out of anger, out of emotion, right? Because I'm like, F this, man, like I'm so sick and tired of this, and then they never respond. Why do they never respond? Because it's a bot. And dude, I've done it probably twice, and every time I'm like, I just want to kick myself in the face. I'm like, I'm an idiot. Why did I even respond to that? So it's very real, man. And you know, to get back to what you were talking about, like, is it possible? Is it possible to truly unite our people? Is it possible to have enough people become aware and actually act and stand up for what's going on right now, so that we can be the strength, so that people can actually see the truth, which is the 98% of this country is not who the media and the politicians are saying it is. It is the average American from every walk of life that knows that something's up at this point and is sick and tired of the games, and is sick and tired of the tyranny, and is sick and tired of the corruption, and is sick and tired of the divide. That's the 98% right now. And I think, this is just my opinion, but I think that happens with conversation and with, you know, doing everything in your power to, Ian Smith says this all the time, find a hill and fight on it, right? And so it's funny, dude, because I'll have people come at me all the time. It's like, oh, you know, you never served, you're just a patriot, right? And I'm like, dude, you know what? I'm not trying to pretend I'm hard. I have a lot of friends that are really hard, and I 100% will admit all day long that I am not who they are. And I probably could never do what they've done. Would I do it if I absolutely had to? Yes, I would answer the call. But do I want to? No. And no one wants to. Ask no one wants to go to war. No one wants to leave their family and put their lives on the line, which is why these people are so important and why they need to be respected. This is a whole other topic, but this is why our vets should be getting the freaking golden like spoon above everyone else in our country. The fact that we have homeless vets right now is absolutely infuriating. It's like, you call these people to pay the ultimate sacrifice so that you can live your life the way you want to, without anybody telling you what you can do and who you can be, and then you just let them fall into drugs and freaking find themselves under an overpass. Like, dude, it's just disgusting.
This regime treats illegal immigrants better than vets. Like, there's a strong argument for that.
For real though, man.
It's sad.
It's disgusting, and it's all political theater. It's all because it helps their narrative and it pushes their side. And you know, just so you know, though, I'm going to say this right now too: the left is not the only one that's guilty of that. The right is just as guilty as using these ridiculous things to push their agenda and to make them look better for their side or whatever. Which is again why I think the sides is the biggest issue. But anyway, it's just, when people come at me like that, it's like, I don't think you understand. Like, you can look at me as somebody who decided to create a clothing company, but let me just tell you that I know that there's probably close to 60 to 70,000 people in this world right now, 48 countries, 49 countries, maybe something like that, that are proudly wearing the word patriot on their body, not because they're a Trumper, not because they're a right-wing white supremacist, as you would call them, but because they simply just embrace the message of what true patriotism is. And what I believe is how we actually unite the good. That's what I always say, right? We talked about the good and how you can making them aware. Uniting the good is how we beat the evil.
Yeah.
And so you can say all you want to me, but the fact that we have close to 60,000 people wearing that message on themselves right now and having those conversations, I think we are making a difference.
Yeah.
I think I've found my hill and I'm trying to fight on it as much as I can. Now, am I also, using that to my ability to build the life that I want and create the American dream that every single one of us is not only able to go after, but literally, like, that's our right as Americans? Absolutely. And I will never feel sorry for that.
Yeah, as you should.
As long as I'm continually giving, as long as I'm continually giving more than I'm receiving, and I make it an absolute point to do that in whatever way I can, then I will never apologize for doing what every single American in this country should be doing, which is chasing their American dream and building the life that they want.
Yep.
That I'll never apologize for that, ever.
You know what?
And
of all your shirts I wear,
need to understand
that. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100% with that, man. And it's, I don't know. I just think about like the fact that like I used to own bars, and so like I got people drunk for a living. Like I sold people alcohol, and nobody gave me crap over that. But they'll talk about how if you're in this space you're a shill or whatever, and it's like that makes no sense. But anyway, what I was gonna say is, of all your because I have like quite a few of your shirts. Do you want to guess the one I get the most crap about when I wear it?
Tell me which ones you have, and I'll tell you exactly which one it is.
Okay. Well, I have. You sent me quite a few, so I have the never shirt with the the gun.
Never take our guns.
Freedom over everything. Quite a few that just say Patriot. America first. I think that's it as far as unique
America
messaging.
First.
Hands down, 100% of the time. America
first is when you're going to get, and I'll tell
Always.
you right now why.
Yeah,
it's
why do you
think that is? The exact same idea, right? I'm actually glad you brought that up because this is something I've wanted to talk about. So I'm super glad you brought that up. I want everyone to listen to this right now. If you are still listening to us, I want you to listen to this loud and clear. America first does not mean America only. Okay? Yeah. The truth is, now let me say this. I supported Trump. I think he was an incredible president as far as being a president. Our country has never been in a better position. Well, not never, but it's been a very long time since our country's been in the position it was under the Trump administration.
Agreed.
He made very smart decisions. He understood our enemies. He kept them at bay. Our economy boomed. I mean, literally, our country was absolutely thriving. And the only thing that changed that was the fact that a few people, companies that didn't want him to, that were scared of him and scared of what he represented, sabotaged all of it. And I don't care what you say, that's the truth. Now, I will say this though. Trump hijacked patriotism and the idea of what America First stands for. Whether he meant to or whether it's just the following that jumped on it and then he just ran with it because he's a genius marketer or whatever it is. The fact is, right now, if you say the word America First, the words America First, all of a sudden people think that you are a nationalist.
Mm-hmm.
And listen to me when I tell you this, because it needs to be said and it needs to be shouted across the rooftops. There is a stark contrast, a huge difference between patriotism and nationalism. Mm-hmm. Go read the definitions. Patriotism is love of country and people, right? and the willingness to defend it. That's it. Nationalism is the love of country and people and the willingness to defend it to the detriment of other countries.
Right.
It's the difference of saying, F you all, we are the only ones that matter, and we are the ones that we're only going to take care of our own, and F you all, you can all just eat yourselves alive. And it's the difference of saying, we are going to put our country in the best position possible first so that we can be strong enough and capable of helping all the other nations that are trying their best to establish democracy and a free economy and live the way that we believe is the American way. And I don't believe there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with the fact that if you and your family are in a, I think I said this on the last one, but let's say it again. If your family is drowning in a river along with a lot of other people, there is absolutely zero wrong with you diving in, saving them, bringing them safely to shore, making sure that they are good before you dive back in and try to save anybody else. And there is nothing wrong with then diving back in and trying to save someone else.
Yep.
That is the point of America First. It's just simply the fact that we need to make sure that we are in the best position possible. And then there's nothing wrong with taking care of others. And so you look at like the conflict right now, right? I was actually corrected this morning because I made a post about how the Russian conflict is kind of like a pointless one. Dude, I was actually corrected by a good buddy of mine that's been in the service. It's like his 9th tour or something. He's a freaking combat operator. And he straight up said, dude, you can't say it's pointless because the truth is Russia has recognized the weakness of America. Mm-hmm. They've recognized this regime constantly talking about end the endless wars and blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, these other countries, like especially Russia, they're like, oh, okay, well, this is our opportunity. And they're trying to completely destroy Ukraine and their freedom, their free democracy, their economy, right?
Yeah, their sovereignty.
So, yeah, and so it is our obligation and our and you can agree or disagree. Again, it's okay. But he basically said, it is our obligation to help them, to come to their aid and to stop a country like that from taking everything from them. And I think that's the point of America First. But dude, it's just like everything else. It's been completely hijacked. And at this point, you're a nationalist and you're a white supremacist and you're a Nazi if you believe in the idea of America First. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? Are you telling me that you don't believe that you should take care of your own health? If let's say you're a father who's completely on the other side of the aisle, right? We don't agree on anything. You're liberal, you believe in this, whatever, we don't agree, but you're a father. You're telling me that you don't believe you need to be in the best health and the best place possible so that you can take care of your family? Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's
like preposterous.
It's such a stupid thing, but people don't pay attention to that anymore. They're so emotionally charged by the narratives.
Yeah.
And so, dude, yeah, I mean, immediately, as soon as you said, I was like, that's the t-shirt. That's the one you're going to get the most crap by far.
But the way you put it at the beginning was perfect. America First doesn't mean America only. And, all these people who are so offended or triggered by America First, it's like they would never bat an eye and they wouldn't care if someone from Japan said Japan first, or if someone from the UK said UK first, or Canada. It's only for whatever reason they've put this weird double standard on America, and for some reason wanting to take care of you and yours first if you're American is evil. And I think you hit the nail on the head. They've conflated it with nationalism in America only. So essentially, they think you're going to save your drowning family and then walking away with them instead of helping everybody else, which is not what we do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And are there people that do believe that? Absolutely. Sure. There are, but it's such a small percentage of people.
Yeah.
Most people, man, this is the thing too, that people just need to understand. The majority of people are inherently good. They're good people, man.
I believe that.
But that doesn't create headlines, and that doesn't get clicks, and that doesn't get views. And so that's never what you're going to see. As long as these companies reign with the impunity that they do, and as long as they are constantly obsessed with the fear mongering and the evil and the just constant negativity through the freaking media, like you're never going to see the good unless you go outside of your house and talk to your neighbors, or unless you, I mean, literally drive a state away and just have a conversation with someone that's, you know, whatever. Like people are inherently good and they want the best and they want to take care of each other. Right. But that's, you know, it's like you said, it's every one of these narratives have just been spun in a way that, you know, they talk about how the left, you know, if you look into like the history of communism, socialism and stuff, I forget who it was. Correct. Tell me who it was if you can remember, but who was it that said the useful idiots?
It was a former, it was a KGB agent. I forget his name.
Yeah.
He was a former KGB agent.
So he was referring to the left as useful idiots, right? To the more liberal people. Yeah. Now, I'm not, just so everybody knows, if anybody's listening to this that is liberal, I'm not calling you an idiot. I'm just saying the reason why he says that is because the truth is the left is far more emotional than the right. The left is triggered by emotion. The right is far more logical. And the truth is that's both of their problems. The right is too logical. Like the right has to be right all the time, right? And the left is too emotional. They don't allow logic to set in as much as they should. And again, like I said at the beginning, if we could just figure out a way for the right to be less logical and a little bit more emotional, and the left to be a little less emotional and a little bit more logical, boom, now all of a sudden you have a little bit of you can bridge the gap, right? Well, guess what? These people know that the left is very emotional. And if you don't believe that they're manipulating this left side and these emotional people to react the way that they are with all these headlines and the media and the constant divisiveness, like you're not paying attention. And that's the funniest thing is these people that talk about the left being the useful idiots. Well, why do you think they're calling you useful idiots? Because they use you to create the divide and to weaken the people. And then when they have control and they have the power, guess what? You don't matter either at all. And every single right and freedom that you like fought for other people to lose, you know, you look at like the censorship, right? It drives me crazy because you see people on the left that are like, yeah, they should be censored. They shouldn't be able to say that. They shouldn't be able. It's like you're only helping them to eventually do the exact same thing to you.
Yep.
And that's what they don't understand. And again, going back to what I said about uniting the good, that comes down to being aware and not being aware. If they were aware of what was really happening and what the real goal was behind that, man, all of a sudden now they're like, oh, okay, so yeah, that doesn't make sense. We probably shouldn't censor them because I don't want to be censored, right? They should have the freedom to speak just like I have the freedom to speak. They should be able to do what they want just like I can do what I want. But it's like this thing of like, let's treat the left like they're our favorites and get them to the point where it's like they're on our side and then easily flip it. And that's what's happening. Yeah. That's what's happening right now.
You appeal to their emotions. You appeal to their emotions, take the freedoms away. Yeah. Like you said, because it's easier to do it when you're dealing with an emotional group of people. And that's right. Now you've taken the freedoms away from all of us.
Yeah, dude, how many people right now, I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with people about the vaccination, the boosters and everything. It's like, I got vaccinated, then I got vaccinated again, then I got a booster, and we're still getting sick. Yep. Like, what's going on? And it's funny because they're always talking to me who isn't getting sick. And it's like, and I'm like, dude, one of my friends, I won't use his name or anything, but one of my friends, double vaccinated and a booster, good friend of mine. Like we are super tight. Again, it's another example of somebody who I disagree with probably 99.9% of what he believes. But at the end of the day, we're friends. We have a lot of common interests. I love the guy, right? Okay, well, double vaxxed and boosted. And we have a conversation the other day where it's like, dude, I was like, you have been sick like 6 times in the last 4 months. Like, I feel like every time we talk, you have something going on, whether it's like you have a cough or a sore throat. You, according to him, which I think now we know we can't get it twice, but he believes he's gotten COVID twice. He's constantly getting tested. He's come positive multiple times. And I'm like, knock on wood, but like, dude, your boy, like, pretty healthy, right? I get a sniffle here and there like anybody else during the winter, but like,
yeah,
I'm still rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
And 2 out of 3 times I talk to you, you're on your back, or you're complaining about being sick or having a fever or whatever. And it's like, at what point do you understand that?
Well, what's his response to that though? When you say like, "Hey man, like, what, you're always sick." Do you finally see like?
So in the last conversation I had, it was actually a little bit of a breakthrough. He goes, "Yeah, man, I'll be honest. It doesn't really make sense. I've gone along with everything, but now I'm kind of to the point where it's like, I think that," he basically just said, he blames it on ignorance. He says, "I think they just don't know exactly what to do." He's like, "I just think that there's so many factors, and there's so many different things when it comes to the testing, and so many things when it comes to the different case studies and everything." He's just like, "I just think we're all learning through this. And that's why the pandemic is such a scary thing, because nobody really knows what to do. And all these governments are just kind of doing what they think is best." And so he just blames it on ignorance. And he just says, "Oh, it's, it doesn't make sense. And at this point, I think that if they asked me to do it again," he straight up said, "I wouldn't do it, because I just don't think they know what they're doing." But he refuses to admit that there just might be an agenda there. He refuses to admit it. And the other thing too is, he says, and this is the funniest one, is he says, "Well, that's true, but I'm not in the hospital. Like, I'm sick, but I'm not in the hospital. And if I hadn't gotten the vaccinations or the booster, like, who knows, man, maybe I would be on a ventilator." And I'm like, that's when I'm like, your boy isn't on a ventilator.
Yeah, yeah, dude. Well, I got it. I got the Delta. Almost positive it was Delta, because we were at the peak of Delta, and I didn't get the genomic testing to confirm it. But at that time, it was like the heat of it. I got it. My wife got it. Neither one of us are vaccinated. A day of symptoms, like right back at it. We're both super healthy. We work out, we eat well, like,
Yep.
all the stuff. And I have so many friends and associates who, double vaccinated, boosted, everything, still got it, out for a week, just on their back. And it's like, man, but still, same thing you said, like, "Oh, I'm so thankful I at least am vaccinated. Otherwise, it would have been way worse." And I'm like, meanwhile, me and my family are over here studs, just come on, guys, come on. Like, it's frustrating, because you feel bad for them, kind of, because they bought into this thing, and you just want to, like, them to get it and to be okay. And you know what I mean? Like, but then you're the bad one. So,
yep. That's why I said at the beginning, when you asked me, do you think this is possible or whatever, that's why I said my biggest fear is that it's going to be too late.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that though, because you said it's going to be too late. What do you mean by that? Like, what does too late mean?
I think that's a good question. Dude, it's a game of inches, right? Inch by inch, every single, you can see the goalpost moving over and over and over and over and over, right? And that's how they do it. It's a slow burn. It's not an overnight thing. And so what I mean by it's going to be too late is, it's going to get, I believe that unless everybody collectively stands up, which, don't get me wrong, it's happening. Like, you see the truckers in Canada, you see Americans coming up to Canada to, like, I don't know if you saw that, but a bunch of truckers from America also joined the Canadian thing.
I saw, yeah. I love it.
You see the other nations, you got England, you got Ireland, like, they're starting to stand up, right? But America, you still have states where there are mandated masks, mandated vaxes, like, you have to show a card to go into a restaurant. That's a fact. There are people being arrested because they don't have a vaccination to go into Applebee's. Like, that's actually happening in our country. So, what I mean by it'll be too late is, if it gets to the point where not enough people stand up and they have the ability to just make this a normal thing, even if it's not in every part of the country, but it's in, you know, certain states and things. Dude, listen, I've said this from the beginning, and you can call this a conspiracy theory all you want, and I really hope it doesn't come true. I mean, we're batting 1,000 right now, but I hope this one doesn't come true. And that is that I believe there's a possibility that the United States of America could get to a point where there are safe zones and there are danger zones, or there are like there are free states and there are, I mean, we're already seeing that, right? Like I think it could potentially get to that point where, you know, that if you live in this state, you are under a very, very different boot, or just under a boot in general, right? And if you live in other states, you're not under. I see that happening, and that's what I fear the most. What I fear the most is them still having enough power to make some of these things that are 100% a gross overreach of people's human rights a normal, and not, and the people not having the power to make that go away, and not having the ability to fight against it, right?
Yeah. It's terrifying.
It really is, man. But that's the truth. Like, you look at the power that these people have. I mean, dude, look at the metaverse. While I think that the metaverse could be it could be a good, I like to look at both sides. I think the metaverse could be a really cool thing technology wise. You know, I think there could be definite benefits there, to make life easier or whatever. But man, I believe that the evil that is very present in this world right now, the evil understands that in order to truly to have control over the hearts of men, those men need to be weak. They need to be uneducated. They need to be lazy. They need to be, unable to accept any kind of responsibility. They need to be distracted. They need to be divided, and they need to be angry and emotional. And if you're telling me that if we get to a point where a large percentage of our society is spending most of their time in a fake world because it gives them something that they can't have in the real world, and that's not going to cause a cataclysmic problem in our world as far as, anxiety, depression, death, suicide, freaking just poverty, economic issues, like, then I'm going to call you crazy. Because you see those memes around right now of like the dude that's in his room and the room is completely destroyed. There's garbage everywhere. He doesn't have any clothes on, and there's like, it's dark, and it just looks like an absolutely like apocalyptic world. And then he's got his VR goggles on. It's like, dude, there are already people that live in those kind of places. There are already people that live in their bedroom for days, and all they do is play video games over and over and over, because it gives them a false sense of the reality that they wish they had. And I think society is going in a direction where, first of all, men are being destroyed. Like, the idea of a strong, capable man, which is honestly what drives society. Like, that's just the truth. It's under attack. And why do you think so? Because again, if we are weak, if we are divided, if we are distracted, if we are emotional, if we are dependent, if we have no way or understanding of accepting responsibility for the good or the bad, then we are 100% under the influence of something that is not good, something that is the very opposite of good. And that's where I think, as scary as that is, because I have 2 kids and it just absolutely scares me to death, that's where I think we're headed, man. I think we're going to a place where reality and what's not real is going to be absolutely blurred, and people are not going to know the difference, and they're not going to be able to see what's really happening with the people that are making the most money from it, that are profiting the most from it, and that are literally just, I say this all the time. Once you have all the money and all the power in the world, there's only one thing left that you can possibly do or get to like level up. And all the people that are constantly chasing money and power, they are constantly trying to level up, right? They're never going to walk down. They're never going to try and go down a rung on the ladder. The only thing that's left, the only step that's left is control. And we see that happening right now, right?
Yeah.
Look at the people that are the richest. Look at the people that have the most power. What is their next move? Their next move is to figure out what can I control and how do I control it?
Well, it's like I'm sure you're familiar with the World Economic Forum and,
Mm-hmm.
Klaus Schwab and all these guys, the Great Reset. And now he just published the Great Narrative. It's like this is happening right in front of our eyes. And these people are unabashedly talking about this. I mean, Schwab said, in the future, you will own nothing and you'll be happy. And then I forget her name. This other lady who is associated with the World Economic Forum is just talking openly to other elites at this forum, saying, the good news is all of us elites across the world, we're getting along with one another great from different nations.
I saw that. Yep.
Yeah, and she's like, but unfortunately, the people across the world don't the elites don't have their trust.
In line.
Yeah, they're not falling in line essentially, and it's like. They're saying the quiet part out loud now. They don't even care, man. And yet still saying this right now to you, I will get called a conspiracy theorist. And it's like they're saying it. They don't. It's so frustrating, dude. It's so frustrating.
Again, it's the useful idiots. It's because at this point they understand that they have successfully infiltrated both mentally and emotionally these people to the point where they could literally come out tomorrow and say that, I mean, dude, just think of the most outrageous thing that these people could say, and the people would go along with it. These people that have just I saw something a while back that said, I think I mentioned this. It said basically, if they were to come out tomorrow and say that the virus hovered at 3 feet, right? That it hovered above you at 3 feet, you would literally have people, and that it only happened when you were in small spaces. So let's picture a mall, okay? How many people do you think, if that was the case, would literally get down on their hands and their knees and crawl around that store to shop?
Too many.
It's scary as hell, man.
Yeah.
But that is the honest truth. There are so many people in this world right now that if the experts came out tomorrow and said, when you are in spaces with, more than 10 people, the virus can get you even worse. So you are at even more risk of getting deathly ill at 3 feet in the air. There would be people army crawling on the ground.
So bad, dude. I mean, you already see it. You see people who will wear their mask for 5 feet until they sit at a table to eat, as though the virus is only up here, and you can only get it when you're standing. It's like, I think that's different though. I say this too, like, I always like to look in airports. Airports to me are like the perfect case study for where society is right now. And so, like, I made a video last time I was at the airport because I said that not the majority, but I would say like 1 out of every 5 people were either wearing their mask as a chin strap or were just like wearing it under their nose. What does that tell me? That tells me that those people know that mask is not doing jack. Yep.
They know that it's stupid. They know that it doesn't make any sense. They're not trusting the science or whatever. They're literally just complying. Mm-hmm. That's all they're doing. They're just doing it because they've been told to do it. So what does that tell me? That tells me that 1 in every 5 people in this world are basically just complying. And then
what's your thought on that, though, in terms of, like, I think that's almost worse. If you're someone who says, like, I know this thing doesn't work, I know it's complete BS, but I'm just going to wear it because to make other people feel good or to comply. Like, I find that to be, first off, I could never be that person. Like, I don't even know the last time I wore a mask. It was 2020. And I think that that's almost worse than someone who truly believes that they're protecting themselves. Like, if you're going to be just this guy who's going to wear a mask just because as a signal, like, I think I mean, you are the problem, right?
Yes, especially now, since we know, like, even those people have even admitted that the masks are pointless. They've admitted that cloth masks are pointless.
On CNN.
They've literally said, like, that all of it is pointless. But yes, those people are the problem because they are perpetuating it. Mm-hmm. They are making it so that even though the truth is out, the truth is ignored. They are causing the truth to be ignored. If you're listening to this and you are just complying to comply, you are literally causing the truth to be ignored.
And stop.
You are perpetuating this mass I hate to say this because it's like, this is a conspiracy theorist now, right? Or theory, but the mass psychosis, like it's the truth. And so I think you have a few different people right now. I think you have the people that are literally just complying. I think you have the people that are just, if one thing this pandemic has showed us is how many freaking hypochondriacs live in this world, because holy cow, right? Yeah. People that are just afraid of life, like just, I mean, it's crazy. Then you have the people that are just, they're like kind of unsure, like they think it's working, but like they don't really know. And so they just do it. And then you have people that are like, F this, man, like this is stupid. I'm going to stand out. And you consider these other time, when we bring up like the Holocaust and things like that, people always say, oh, there you go again. It's like, well, no, consider that time. Like it makes me wonder if Hitler and the Nazis knew about that divide as far as those different types of people in the crowd. Like which people literally believed that the Jews were evil, which people like just kind of like felt weird about it, but we're like, you know what, maybe this is a real thing, like maybe this is true, I'm gonna go with it. And then the people that said, I know this is wrong, but I'm not going to say anything because I'm just going to comply. It's easier to comply. I'm going to fall in line. I don't want to get, killed. I don't want to put my family at danger, blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to comply. And then you had the people that were like, F this, man, this is wrong. We need to do something. We need to stand up. We need to, like, this is not right. This is what's really going on in the background. It makes me wonder if the Nazis and Hitler actually knew that there were those four classes of people and what they did with that fourth one. Right.
Yeah.
And because that's the person that when there's a line of people that are getting loaded into a boxcar, that's the person that's going to jump out of line and try their best to take a weapon and take down as many of those guys as they possibly can and free as many of the people in line as they can. That's that type of person. And it drives me nuts because we're not being loaded into boxcars and we're not trying to kill our enemies, but all of these other people are looking at that fourth person. They're looking at that fourth person and they don't understand that person is fighting for you too. They're not just fighting for themselves. They're fighting for you. They're fighting for your kids. They're fighting for the future. They're fighting for the fact that we don't want to continue to live in a world where it's normal to have to show your medical history to eat a burger.
Yep.
Like
I can't tell you, man, how many times. So I'm in South Carolina, but I live close to the state line. North Carolina is a blue state. Okay. We haven't had any kind of mask mandate or requirement or anything in my state in ages.
Yeah.
North Carolina was different. Like I think they were one of the later adopters of anyway, they were late to the game. People wore masks for a long time. So, and I used to go up there a lot for different stuff. And of course I never wore a mask going into places. I didn't even think about it. Right. Cause I live down here. And between that and just on social media and being outspoken, I can't tell you how many people would come up to me, like with the mask thing in North Carolina and be like, man, good for you. I wish I could do that, or however they want to phrase it. And I'm like, why? Just take it off right now. Why can't you? What is stopping you? But it's just this compliant mindset of not wanting to make waves, not wanting to be seen as a bad person or whatever. Yet I'm getting people coming to me all the time saying, I wish I would, could take my mask off. Or on social media, I wish I could, I believe everything you're saying. I just wanted you to know that I don't share anything because I don't want to lose friends or get in trouble or whatever, but I support you. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't support me. You don't support me. Sending me a message and living in fear is not supporting me. It's not supporting any of this.
No. So, that's the other thing too, is I think that the whole idea of the silent majority, it's become like this false badge of honor. Like all of a sudden people are like,
don't be proud of being silent.
I'm part of the silent majority. It's like, dude, you're literally saying that you are not
speaking up,
that you're not speaking up. Like you're literally admitting the fact that you are part of a mass group of people that refuse to speak up, whether it's fear or whatever it is, but you're like, that's not a badge of honor.
Yep. I agree,
the
man.
silent majority needs to be the loud majority. They need to be the ones that are actually standing up and making it so that the loud minority is crushed, because that's what's happening. The loud minority is smashing the silent majority. And if you want to wear that as a badge of honor, be my guest, but you're basically taking an L and calling it a win. And it's like that. It doesn't help. It doesn't put us in a place where we can actually progress. And so, you know, I don't know, man. It's like, it's frustrating because I feel like we are kind of coming out of the woods right now, right? We've already said this. I feel like with the truckers, I feel like with the different countries and things like that, we're coming out of the woods, right? But what is to stop these people from doing something again? Like, this was if anything, this was a massive case study as to how far they can push us, what they can get away with, how much, like, dude, I guarantee you these people at some point were sitting in a room multiple times and we're like, oh my gosh, they actually did that. Are you freaking kidding me? They're still doing it. Like, I guarantee you they've had that conversation. And it scares me because it's like, what would come next? You know, you just heard something ridiculous about, I don't know if you heard this, but some truck crashed in Pennsylvania with a bunch of monkeys or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that just fear mongering from the media, or is that really something that just happened? And are we about to have some other crazy virus outbreak? And that's how they're going to continue to control this whole thing. And it's like, these people don't care about you. They don't care about your life. They don't care about your well-being. They don't care what you think. Like, you are a dart on a board for them. That's it. And they will continue to throw those darts at the board until they hit the bullseye. And that's what's the scariest thing, because it's like, when you say, what does it mean when it's too late? You know, will that happen? Will something else come around and it's just too late because not enough people realized what was going on and were willing to say anything?
I fear that what's going to happen, because you already see it now with Rochelle Walensky at the CDC saying things like, oh, up to or probably more than 40% of hospitalizations were just with COVID, not from COVID, and the numbers are inflated. And you see Fauci, you know, conceding all these different things. And then you see them saying on CNN, masks are just, you know, ornaments. And so you see all of this happening now, and they're gradually giving up the narrative. My fear, and what I don't want to happen, and what we can't allow to happen. And I was actually messaging with Andy about this the other day, letting these people get away with it, because they're going to let it go. They're going to drop the narrative, and we're just going to be like, okay, cool, we got our lives back, ha ha ha. And then they're just going to go back to being plotting and, you know, being their evil.
Plotting the next move.
Exactly. Like, we cannot let that happen, man. Like, Fauci cannot just get off the hook for this stuff. I'm sorry. Francis Collins should not get off the hook for this stuff. Rochelle Walensky, Joe Biden. I mean, all of them. I mean, they're all just evil actors, and the evidence is there, man. And it's so frustrating because your average American is just going to be so happy to get their freedom back, quote unquote, when they didn't have to relinquish it to begin with. And now they're just going to be so preoccupied with that. They're not going to be willing to push for our rights any further. That's what I fear.
No, and it's the truth. And I think it's because a large majority of people nowadays live in this state of complacency. And that's been perpetuated since the beginning too, with the media and the movies and the music. And like, if you don't think that's what's happening, then you're not paying attention. But the idea that it's okay to make a certain amount of money every year, that it's okay to, you know, that it's okay to have a mediocre life, that you shouldn't want to continue to build and create and continue to climb the ladder, right? That's where they want you. Yeah. Because if you climb the ladder, they can't.
Yeah.
Right?
They demonize that behavior. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it comes from this idea of being complacent. All of these people are just like, oh man, okay, cool. Now we can finally get back to normal, and like, I'm good. I'm not, again, it's the whole, I didn't make any waves then, I'm not going to make any waves now. I'm just happy to be able to go to the movies and not have to wear a mask. And it's like, you don't get it. The whole idea of they give you an inch and they take a mile, right? That's your inch. The mile has already been taken. The next thing they take is freaking 100 miles, right? The mile is already taken, and now they know that they can take it.
Exactly.
And so they'll give you this inch back to make you feel like, okay, we're good. But really, you've given them that mile, and they know it. You don't know it until the next time. And then the next time it's like, oh, now we can move the needle this way. Now we can do this. Now we can push the, you know what I mean? Like, and that's how all the things in history, as far as the communist and socialist takeovers, that's how it happened. Like, it didn't, I think a lot of people think that it was just this crazy overnight or even over a few weeks or months or whatever, this like takeover. And it's like, no, it was a slow burn. It was this constant, we give you an inch, we take a mile. We give you an inch, we take a mile. We give you an inch, we take you a mile. And it's always been in the idea of safety and the well-being, because the well-being of you and the people around you. And it's like, they're always going to use those things that trigger emotion to make you feel like you're a bad person if you stand up, or if you try to call out, you know, the hypocrisy. And so, yeah, man, those people need to be held accountable, but will they? I mean, dude, look at, this is a whole other situation, but look at the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. I mean,
yeah, that's disgusting.
I mean, bro, that they didn't even try to dig into the truth of that. Like, okay, cool, she's guilty. That means there's buyers. Who are the buyers? Why are the buyers not being talked about? Why are they not being revealed? What, dude, it's like a it's a general, like, well-known fact that with cases like that, with high what's the word I'm looking for?
Profile,
high profile cases like that, the FBI will always try to get that person to name names. Always. They will always look for a way to create some kind of plea deal where they will name names so that they can take more people down. Always. That's not like, it's not even a question. It's like, at what point are we going to do this, right? They didn't even try. They didn't even try to get her to name names or to create any kind of plea deal. They just found her guilty. Bing, bang, boom. I forget, what's his last name? Jocko, not Jocko Willink. Jocko Bouillon, I think is his last name. So anyway, I heard him at this last event I was at. I was speaking at something called the Great American Summit, and he spoke, and he talked about the child trafficking issue, and he talked about child exploitation and everything. He's basically like, he's doing the same thing that Tim Ballard's doing, right? And he said something that was so incredibly powerful, dude, and it stuck with me. He said, all of you that think that Ghislaine Maxwell being guilty has somehow solved any kind of problem, what you don't understand is that that was just their way of saying, hey, America, hey, world, we got your pedophile. We got your pedophile. No need to worry anymore. We got your pedophile. And he's like, that organization and that industry doesn't run on one person or two people.
Yeah,
exactly. And it is 100%. She is the fall guy. That's it.
Do you see that creepy clip of Bill Gates where they asked him about Epstein and he was like, oh, well, he's dead anyway now. It's like,
yep.
What?
Yeah. Like what? Hold on. What?
and I mean, just, yeah, dude, it's disgusting, man.
So it's like, you know, if you look at that, man, I don't want to bring this to like a super somber thing, but it's like, dude, it's just like, what power do we actually have? If there's no accountability, and if the judicial system is truly broken because it's so corrupt and so many people are being protected, then what power do we actually have? And what can actually be done? And will these people ever actually face the consequences of their actions? And I hate to say it, but it's like, no. And that's the other reason why I'm constantly saying, like, look, crap's going to hit the fan and these people are going to get away with a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, you just need to work on you, your family, your community, and just make sure that you are in a place where you are ungovernable.
Yep. And
like, that is, I think that's one of the most important things right now, is be aware, right? Like, a lot of people will say to me sometimes, like, how do you live such a positive and like motivating life, knowing everything that you know and understanding kind of the hopelessness of the situation? And I always say the same thing. It's like, well, number one, I control what I can control, right? Like, if I can't control something, I'm not going to stress about it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to control what I can control. And I'm going to work on myself, and I'm going to work on building me and my family and teaching them good values and making sure that they don't fall victim to all these narratives and all these crappy things that are going on in society. And I'm also going to make sure that I can set myself apart so that if anything ever does happen with these evil people, we have an escape. We have a way to get away. We have a way to stand up for it or whatever. And it's just like, evil exists. It always has. And it always will. That's part, this might get into kind of a religious thing, but I believe that's all part of the plan. Mm-hmm. Evil has to exist for good to exist. And evil will triumph. However, it won't be the last triumph. Like, good will triumph over evil, but evil has to have its day. And knowing that makes me understand that that evil is going to move no matter what I do. But if I continue to do my best to stay in the light and continue to do my best to be good and to combat that evil, then when evil is done, when it's had its day and good is there to triumph, like, I'm going to be on the good side. I'm going to be fighting with good. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm just rambling, but
absolutely. But I wanted to touch on also what you just said leading into that, because it goes back to sort of when we were talking about America first and taking care of yourself first. Like that, people ask me kind of similar questions too. Like, dude, what is the point with all this stuff you talk about? Like, don't you just have a nihilistic outlook? Like, what, it seems like we're screwed. And I'm like, well, the only reason I'm talking about all this stuff and I take the time to do a podcast and do, make all this is like, I've done things to look out for myself and my family. Like, that always comes first, that has been done. And I encourage you, other people, like, do the same. Like, I look out for me and mine. And now I'm also doing this because you fill your cup first and then, right? Like you were saying, then you jump back in the water and you save the other people. It's like, don't think that, I have a lot to be thankful for. I'm very grateful. I'm very positive because I have worked my butt off to do certain things. But like, don't, just because, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm agreeing with you, but like, you can have a positive outlook and still acknowledge the evils that are present that you have to take on.
Again, it's what I said in the beginning. The difference, it's being part of the good, but making sure that you're part of the good that is aware.
Yes. Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with being aware. It's actually necessary. In order for good to unite and good to triumph over evil, you have to be aware of that evil and you have to be aware of what's going on. So that's all it is just you are part of the good that is aware. Mm-hmm. And now when people say to you, why is it that you talk about this? Why is it that you have a podcast? Like, it's because you are doing your best to help those that are still very good become aware like you are.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
And that's what we're all doing. Mm-hmm. I believe that we will look back, maybe even after all of us are gone. I believe that that people will look back and they will see, maybe they won't see you specifically, maybe they won't see me specifically or whatever, but they will see that there were people that were trying their damnedest to make people become aware of what was really going on and what was to come in the future. And, I don't know. That's just something that I want to be able, I just want to be able to tell my boy, like, dude, I didn't back down. Like, your dad is good and he did his best to help other people that are very good become aware of the evil so that we could eventually actually have a fighting chance against them. And I think that's what all of us are doing. So, when someone comes at you with that question, that's the way I would answer is I would just say, look, man, there's a lot of really good people out there that don't know what's going on. I know what's going on. And so I kind of feel like it's my responsibility to help them be aware of it as well. Otherwise, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah. Right? Once you have that awareness, it's almost impossible not to want to tell others. And it's like, it's like you've been given this thing, right? And you shouldn't squander it. So that's kind of why I do this. And also I'm a father. Like, once you're a parent, the future, the future is so important to you, man. And it's like, I will be damned if this world my daughter has to grow up in, if I don't do everything I can to make it what it should be for her,
Yep.
So there's that too. And it's like, man, we've been pretty somber, I think, through most of this, but I think it's important stuff. However, I did want to at least loop back to like in the beginning when you said you got big plans for 2022 and you learned a lot this past year. If you could talk about that a little bit, talk about Patriot, what you got going on, what you want to do, all that good stuff.
So the okay, so the direction I want to take Patriot Gear in, I'm a big believer of abundance versus scarcity.
Yeah.
However, I am in a space where I am trying very hard to separate myself from a lot of companies and brands that are basically in the public's eye who don't know what we actually stand for, like not our actual built community. We're kind of the same thing. And I need to separate myself, and I need to separate this brand from that. And so I have something that I'm planning on doing in 22, but I don't want to talk about it on here. I don't want to reveal that yet.
That's fair.
Let's just say though that this brand, this idea, this movement was built on the idea of freedom. It was built on the idea of the fact that every American should have the ability to create freedom in their life, and that's what we're going to continue to fight for, and defend. And that's kind of the direction that I'm going with. But I don't want to talk about exactly what it is.
All right.
But I will just say too that, like I said in the beginning, what we really want from this is we want it to be a brand and a movement that stands for freedom, that stands for, unity, and that stands for just the good, man. It just stands for the good, uniting the good. And how that is truly what I believe is the key to winning this war. Like we have to figure out a way to come together as storybook as that sounds, and as impossible as that sounds, with as much divide that exists right now. It's like, we have to figure out a way to do that. Otherwise we're not going to win. Like, otherwise we can't. And so that's where we really want this to go. And I want it to be a company where we can offer, jobs, and where we can offer opportunity, and where we can help people create the reality that they want and chase their American dreams. And more than anything, like I said at the beginning too, I don't want it to be a thing where it's like, I'm going to wear this t-shirt on the 4th of July, or I'm going to wear this t-shirt, on whatever. Like, I want people to literally wear this clothing as their daily clothing, even if it's a tiny tag on a t-shirt at some point, or just a tag inside a pair of pants, just because they know what those clothes represent.
Right.
And it's so much more than just a trendy, popular brand. I think that's what we're really shooting for. And if you would have asked me if that was the direction, like a year and a half ago, not at all. But it's become that because of the understanding of what I think we have the power to do with it. Because, some of the circles that I've been in, I'm still blown away sometimes. I'm still blown away at the people that I now consider friends, the successful entrepreneurs, and just the absolute badasses of this world are like some of my close friends. And it's all because they believe in what we're building here. Mm-hmm. They believe in the message. They believe in what we're trying to create. And that to me is like, anytime that I feel like, man, I don't know if I can actually do this, I don't know if I can actually keep going with this, like, that's what makes me realize in those moments, is like, no, dude, like, you have so much support, you have so much belief. It's just up to you to make this thing go. And then, it's a wildfire.
When you have those moments, what are the main drivers of making you feel that way?
Making me feel like I can't?
Yeah, is it like
can I really do this thing?
Censorship, or just the workload?
Oh, dude, censorship's a huge one. I mean, when I first started building my following and like creating the community that we built, dude, we were raising hundreds of thousands of dollars in like a couple days. We were saving businesses from going out of business just from my engagement on my social media. The reach that I had, I was getting 9 million impressions a week with 47,000 followers.
That's insane.
Like I had engagement that's just unreal, because it was so many people that believed in what we were doing. And now I just have the boot of social media, big tech on my face, and I can barely crack a million impressions. I lose just as many followers as I gain every single week. And my story views, where I used to get like 20,000 views per story, I can barely crack 3 on a good day.
Yeah.
And so my ability to actually reach the people that want to follow me and want to be a part of this has been completely smashed. And I'd be lying if I said that that's not super, super discouraging sometimes, because it's like, I know that I have this reach and yet I don't, right? Like, nothing I do will change the fact that I can't actually reach all the people that I want to, because they won't let me. They won't let me get this message out there. They won't let me strengthen these millions and millions of people that I know I could reach if I actually had no chains, right? So that's crazy, super discouraging. But the other thing I would say is just like, I don't know, I think all entrepreneurs go through this. It's the ups and downs. It's the when entrepreneurs talk about the fact that there are lows and there are highs, or you get kicked in the, like, dude, they're not lying, man. I can't tell you how many times I've just gotten straight up disjawed. Like, I'll turn around one day and something that I thought was going to go one way just completely doesn't go that way and just absolutely tanks. And it's like, okay, what do we do, right? Like, it's I think sometimes I'm caught up in this idea that, not idea, but this feeling that, like, okay, this can't happen anymore. Like, if it happens again, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, it's just going to freaking destroy me. Right. Yeah. But I've luckily been blessed with the ability to be more resilient than others. And not only more resilient, but have the ability of saying, okay, how can we pivot? What do we do to get over this problem? What do we do to solve this problem? What do we do to overcome this challenge? And then how do we focus on everything that we started this on and just make that the focus? And what I found, Dave, is that as long as I can make what we started this for the focus, as long as I can continue to make giving the focus, and building and creating and just uniting, as long as I make that the focus, we never lose. It doesn't matter how many times I get kicked in the face, we always end up winning. And so, yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. I would say that's been my experience in just, the almost 2 years that we've been doing this.
Yeah, no, it does make sense, man. And, when it, before I sold my other business I had, like, it was the most ups and downs I'd ever experienced emotionally in my life for the number of years I was building that. And, I tell people all the time, like, if anybody tells you otherwise, who's started and owned a company, they're lying to your face, or they're like a sociopath who doesn't feel emotions. I mean, especially once you get to where you have a lot of employees who depend on your company for their livelihood. I mean, it's incredibly stressful. And like, I've had plenty of nights where I just laid under my desk, and curled up in a ball. And I'm not even ashamed to admit that, man. Like, that's just what it is. That's how it is. So I was just curious, kind of, obviously an industry that I don't have experience in, that I might be jumping into. We'll see. I'm going to, I'm letting this thing be organic, but so far it's been pretty incredible how many people, have kind of supported those couple shirts. But, all right, 2022 is the year you set yourself apart from the industry. Yep. I'm excited, man. I can't wait to see it. Go ahead.
It's going to be pretty epic, man. Like I said, I can't talk too much about it, but what we're going to do is going to be absolutely epic. Just trying to get some pieces in place right now. We did everything at the beginning and everything up until now debt free, which is amazing. I haven't had to take a penny out as far as investments or as far as debt or capital or anything like that. But we're at a place now where it's a great problem to have, but we can't keep up with the demand. And if we want to actually take this thing where we want it, we're going to have to, we're going to have to raise some capital. We're going to have to really go big. And that's the direction that I'm headed right now. So now we're just trying to figure out how to get those other things in place, dude.
I'm excited for you, man. It's been so cool to just watch you over this past year or however long Honestly, man, when we linked up, I didn't realize how new your company was. I always just assumed it just seemed like a brand with such staying power that had already been around.
Yeah.
So man, it's been really cool to see, and I'm super stoked for this next year for you. Um,
Thank you.
do you have any plans of getting like more politically involved at all, whether that's sponsoring people or yourself or anything like that?
So, um, I gotta call it three, but let me just answer
Oh,
that really quick because that's actually a great question. I
three your
don't
time.
know
Okay.
if I'm planning on getting so much into like I think I can do a lot more damage as an influencer in the private sector.
Okay.
I think that's the case. Like
That's how I
I
feel
think
too.
yeah, I think going into politics, like actual politics, just it's not. I don't know at this point anyway. Number one, I don't know dick about it. Like I'll just be honest, man. If I were to get in a place like that, I wouldn't know enough to feel comfortable about just being able to navigate all that. Like I just I would have to actually be really invested in that to try and like run for office or something.
Yeah.
Do I totally count it out? The fact that I might dive in and try to figure it out and run one day? No, not at all.
Yeah, one
Especially if
day.
things continue to go the way that it is, because I think we need young, more influential. Like I think there's a difference between politicians and influencers nowadays. You look at
Hmm.
people that actually have real influence, it's a game changer. Look at Ian Smith, dude. He's not a politician. He probably has more influence than 90% of the politicians out there right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
If he actually ran, like, holy cow, man. But again, is he doing more damage the way he's going right now? I don't know. I will say though that like I just got asked. I am speaking a lot more. I'm speaking at a lot more events, and so shameless plug. If anybody's listening to this and has any kind of events going on, and you want somebody to come speak, and whether that's business or sales or pro America, whatever it is, like I'm doing my best to try and add as much value as I can there, because that's honestly, before I started building this, that's what I did too. I've always been a public speaker. But I recently have taken some speaking engagements. Like next week there's actually a Turning Point chapter here in town, and as much as I think Turning Point is kind of also the same beast, like I don't know really where I stand with Turning Point yet,
Mm.
because a lot of the time I see things and I just kind of cringe because I'm like, it's so one-sided to me, although I've never actually been to an event, so it's not really my place to speak on that yet. um there's a lot of people that are part of this organization in town, actually, that I had no idea. Like there's dozens of kids that are wanting to be outspoken and want to kind of move the needle as far as freedom and as far as these other things that we stand for. And so even though I may not totally agree with or understand that organization, I am going to go and speak to them and try to do my best to share this message that we've talked about this whole time, and hopefully get these younger kids to jump on board with it. You know what I mean? Because the youth is really where we can make a difference, man. Like
Yeah.
the upcoming generation, like it's so important. Um, but anyway, to answer your question, I don't know if I'll ever actually run for politics. I mean, like I said, maybe, depending on how bad it gets and how much I think it's needed and how much I think I could actually do. But right now, like I said, I found my hill. I'm just trying to fight on the hill that I found.
Yeah, no, man, I love it. I know you got a call coming up, so I won't take
Yeah,
any more of your time, man.
you're good.
Anytime you want to come on the show, you're more than welcome, and I always appreciate conversations with you. To wrap this up, where should people go to find you and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so best place to find me is my Instagram. It's iWenster, IWENDTSTER. Make sure you type in the whole thing, because you're probably going to get my backup, which is iWenster2, because I'm super shadow banned.
Mm-hmm.
Follow my backup too, but make sure you follow my main account. If you can't find my main account, go to my backup. It's in the bio, and then you can follow my main account. We have an Instagram page for our company as well, the Official Patriot Gear. So that's on Instagram as well. And then our website is officialpatriotgear.com. And if anything I said resonated with you during this, I would ask that you go pick up a Patriot tee. The green OG Patriot tee is kind of what started everything. It's what I always push people to, because that's really what sends the biggest message. Obviously, buy as much gear as you want, but the more people we can get wearing that T-shirt and showing that they represent what we're all about. That's how this movement moves. That's how we actually move the needle the way we want to, and the way I think this country needs to. So yeah, go grab some gear, officialpatriotgear.com. And yeah, dude, that's about it.
Right on. Well, hey, man, I appreciate you. As you can see, I show my support as much as I can. And
yeah,
guys,
dude, we're all out of those flags. You're one of the lucky ones.
Oh, dude. Well, I fly it proud. It goes in pretty much all my videos. So, folks, support this guy. Support what he's doing. If you're looking for someone to speak at your event, hit him up. Follow him everywhere. Go to his website, buy his gear. We need to support and uplift people like this. Ian, man, I appreciate your time, and can't wait to have you back on, brother.
Yeah, Dave, appreciate you, bro.
You got it, man.